Hello again guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are back for another Mach Loop Time Trial. For those of you who are perhaps unfamiliar with the series, we take an aircraft, military or otherwise, we'll put it around the Mach Loop, see what sort of time it can achieve, and then see how it stacks up against its contemporaries. The aircraft that we'll be taking around the Mach Loop today, as you can see in front of you, is the venerable Lockheed L1011 Tristar. More specifically, for today's flight we'll be using the Captainsim version of the aircraft. The Tristar is ostensibly the first commercial passenger jet that we'll be taking around the Mach Loop, although today of course we'll be flying the RAF variant of the aircraft, so I think that should make for quite an interesting run. As always, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. As usual, we'll get ourselves airborne and I'll give you a brief history of the aircraft as we make our way over towards the Mach Loop. So the Lockheed L1011 Tristar is an American-built medium to long-range wide-body jet. It was actually the third wide-body airliner to enter commercial operations after the Boeing 747 and the Douglas DC-10. The aircraft has a seating capacity of 400 passengers, a range of around 4,000 miles. The aircraft has a tri-jet configuration of 3 Rolls-Royce RB211 engines, at the time giving the Tristar unmatched fuel economy and noise levels. The L1011 was well ahead of its time in many ways, taking advantage of some of the most advanced technology of the day. As a result though, the aircraft did have quite a high purchase price. The first prototype of the aircraft flew on November the 16th, 1970, and was first delivered to Eastern Airlines on April the 26th, 1972. The L1011 was produced in a number of variants and flew for airlines all over the world. Unfortunately though, today only one operational example of the aircraft still exists, and that's Northrop Grumman's L1011-100 Stargazer. The aircraft actually used to launch Pegasus rockets into low Earth orbit. The Tristar was also used under military service with the Royal Air Force. The RAF had 9 aircraft of 4 different variants, all serving with 216 Squadron out of RAF Prize Norton. And it's the RAF variant of the Tristar that we're going to be taking on our run around the Mach Loop today. As I mentioned during the introduction, this aircraft will be the first commercial passenger jet that we put around the Mach Loop, so I think it'll be quite interesting to see how the aircraft performs. Presumably it's going to fare pretty well where we can build up some speed on the straights, but we're going to struggle a little bit in terms of the corners. Obviously we can't pull too much G. The aircraft is capable of speeds fairly typical for a commercial passenger aircraft. It can achieve around 330 knots down at ground level, around Mach 0.90. Anyway, I'm quite interested to see how the old girl fares on the Mach Loop, so let's head for the cockpit of the aircraft and begin our run. So welcome back to the Mach Loop once again. As you can see, inbound towards the town of Mach we'll be passing a beam in just a moment's time and starting the stopwatch for our run. Overall a really beautiful day on the Mach Loop. There is a bit of a cloud layer above us, so we'll just have to make sure we don't climb too high and enter into that at any point. So over the road, starting the stopwatch, chasing the river down the valley. As you can see, I wanted to carry every knot that we could over the start of the run there just to maximise our speed here down the straight. V&E in the aircraft around 332 knots, so we'll make sure we stay just below that. The run today is going to be quite a different challenge from usual. Really we need to make sure that we don't overstress the airframe. Also that we don't over-temp our engines, and they're really the main factors we're going to be looking out for. And the aircraft not very speed stable, so having to adjust the throttles quite a bit here to maintain that speed. Just passing over the B404 bridge and continuing to follow the river for now. We'll get the aircraft into a gentle left bank, bringing us around the corner, and again coming back off those throttles just to keep us back on the speed. As I say, the main issue today, really we don't want to overstress the airframe, so we're taking the run nice and quickly for now, but we'll probably have to slow down as we come through Dinas Mawddwy, really for most of the rest of the more twisty sections of the run. Just picking up the A470, that's just down below us. And again keeping a good eye on that airspeed, just coming back on the throttle. We'll keep the speed up for now. I think we'll have to reduce our speed as we turn over Dinas Mawddwy. And probably for the rest of the run we'll have to keep the speed back a little bit, again just to avoid overstressing the airframe. And speed coming back once again. We'll come all the way off the throttles now. We'll hold the speed brake for the time being. We'll see if we can make the turn comfortably without. Using a little bit of rudder here as well, just to coax the aircraft around the turn. And it looks like we're going to be okay to make the turn over Dinas Mawddwy here, so we'll leave the speed brake for now. We'll come off on the throttles once again. The engine's Going to take a little bit of time to spool up. Certainly this run quite different to any other that we've done on the loop to date. Obviously the Vulcan's somewhat similar, but still considerably more aerobatic in nature. Overall though, the L1011 is actually quite nice to fly. It's very smooth in roll. Getting a little bit high on the speed there. We'll come back off the throttle. We'll keep the speed brake off again. We should lose some speed as we come up over the crest of the hill. Looks like the cloud base clearing here a bit as well, so that's going to help us in terms of the rest of the run. And we'll just maintain throttle position for now. We should pick up a few knots again as we come back down the hill. We cleared bush exit quite nicely there. So coming up on the cross foxes in. Again, trying to avoid pulling too much G. As we come around the corner, we're going to have to use a little bit of rudder here as well, just to coax the aircraft through the turn. And speed back around 315 knots, so we'll come up again on the throttles. And as soon as we get the aircraft straightened up here, we're going to again bank out to the right, making sure we get the turn in nice and early. You can see there's the terrain off the nose. And again, we don't want to drift in towards that. Overbanking the aircraft brings back down towards the ground. We've got Clim and Gill just off the nose. As usual, we'll be turning left inbound towards Chorus, just before the lake. Again, keeping a good eye on the speed, quite far back on the throttles at the moment as we come down the hill. And again, pretty large left bank here to get the aircraft around the corner, feeding in some rudder. And really coming up on the throttles now, bleeding off quite a lot of speed there in the turn. Having to come full back on the yoke to actually get the aircraft through the turn. And the run now should become a little bit easier again as it opens up. Speed picking up again, so coming back on the throttles. And as soon as we're around the last corner here, passing over the town of Chorus, which is just coming up below us. We can ease off on following the contours, and we'll just follow the valley back out towards Mach Loop. We'll come up on the power again slightly. We'll pick up every last knot that we can as we come down the hill here, just to try and maximise the last straight of the run. That's really where the L1011 is going to pick up any of its time. And coming off the throttles again now, speed creeping up towards the V&E. And one last hurrah, banking over to the right, kicking in some right rudder. And up on the throttles once again, just to avoid bleeding off too much speed as we finish our run. Over the road, stop the stopwatch, and we're done. Overall, the L1011, I have to say, surprisingly good fun to fly around the Mach Loop. It's quite capable, as you saw through the turns there. I'm not expecting any blistering times, but overall a really enjoyable run. So there you go guys, I hope you enjoyed our run around the Mach Loop in the Lockheed L1011 Tristar. As I mentioned during the run, overall the aircraft was actually a very pleasant surprise, very responsive in roll, pleasant to fly. Obviously we were limited by our top speed and the aircraft's ability to really sustain any G. With that being said though, the aircraft actually managed a time of 4 minutes 34.62 seconds, actually putting it ever so slightly ahead of the Avro Vulcan. I have to say I'm slightly surprised on that one, although we did see during the run in the Vulcan that the aircraft had some real issues maintaining a turn at high speed. I suspect that was an issue with the flight model as opposed to the real world aircraft. Our Tristar in the sim actually had much improved high speed manoeuvrability compared with the Vulcan, which I think is where it made up those extra few seconds. Anyway, another enjoyable run on the Mach Loop. Once again I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. If you want to see more content from the channel, then please consider subscribing as well. As ever, a huge thank you to my channel members and patrons for all of your support. Very much appreciated. I hope that all of you are having a great day wherever you are. Take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.